Here is something that has genuinely never happened before in the history of professional tennis. Two men who spent the best part of 2 decades as the fiercest rivals the sport has ever seen, two men who pushed each other to absolute limits on every major court on the planet, sat down together in 2026 and made the exact same decision at the exact same time. $50 million. Not for a building, not for a tournament that carries their names, not for anything that feeds their own legacy at all. For a 21-year-old from the Philippines. Her name is Alexandra Ella, and if that name doesn't ring a bell yet, I need you to stay right here because by the time this is done, you are going to understand exactly why Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal looked at the same girl and reached for the same pen. These are not sentimental men. Federer turned a calculated early stake in a shoe brand into nearly $500 million. Nadal sold a piece of his own academy and walked away with over 90 million euros in profit. When men like that put 50 million into something together, they are not doing it because the story is nice. They are doing it because they see something the rest of the world has not caught up to yet. So what did they see? Go back to 2013. A 12-year-old girl lands in Mallorca, Spain with her older brother, two rackets, and a dream that most people around her were probably too polite to push back on. She wanted to be world number one. She wanted to win Grand Slams. She came from a country that had never produced a single player inside the global top 100. Not one. Not in the entire history of professional tennis. That fact did not seem to bother her. Alexandra Ella enrolled at the Rafa Nadal Academy and the coaches there noticed something about her almost immediately. It was not just technique. It was not just athleticism. It was the way she behaved when things got tight. When the pressure was at its highest, when the score was close and the moment was heavy, something in her went calm rather than chaotic. Like the bigger the situation, the more settled she became. Junior titles started arriving. Australian Open Junior doubles at 14. Roland Garros Junior doubles the following year. And then in 2022, at 17 years old, she walked onto the court at the US Open Girls Championship and became the first Filipino in history to win a junior Grand Slam singles title. Straight sets, composed from start to finish. The tennis world noticed. They wrote her name down, but lightly, because everyone in that world knows that junior tennis and the actual WTA tour are two completely different conversations. The ITF circuit is where reputations get stress tested. Small tournaments in cities that nobody travels to on purpose, prize money that often barely covers accommodation, months away from home, grinding through qualifying draws against players who are just as hungry and just as desperate as you are. It is the level where most promising juniors discover that potential has limits. Alex did not discover that. She won her first ITF title in 2021, then another after that. Slow and steady, the way anything real actually gets built. By the start of 2025, she was ranked 143rd in the world. Solid, improving. Already a national figure back home in the Philippines, where Globe Telecom had backed her since she was 8 years old, and Babolat had put a racket in her hands long before the global tennis audience knew her face. But the wider commercial world had not truly focused on her yet. That was about to change in 1 week in Miami. Let me explain what a wildcard entry at a WTA 1000 event actually means when you are ranked 43rd in the world. It means the tournament did not owe you a spot. It means the draw is filled with Grand Slam champions and players who have spent years competing at the very top of the game. Your role, according to how these things usually work, is to provide a comfortable opening round opponent for someone ranked in the top 20. You lose in round 1, maybe round 2 if the schedule is kind, and then you go home. Nobody told Alex Eala any of that. Round 1. Jelena Ostapenko, former French Open champion, one of the most dangerous ball strikers on the women's tour, gone. Round 2. Madison Keys, reigning Australian Open champion, playing some of the cleanest tennis of her entire career, gone. Straight sets. The murmur around the tournament got louder. People started asking the same question, who is this girl? And then came round 3 and the question got its answer. World number 2, 5 Grand Slam titles, Iga Swiatek on the other side of the net, the most dominant player the women's game had seen in years. Alex won. Straight sets. Clinical and unhurried, like she had been playing at this level her entire life, because in every way that actually matters, she had been preparing for exactly this. The press conference afterwards could have been the moment everything became too big. Someone pointed a microphone at her and waited. She smiled and said she knew her level was there, but that she still had plenty of areas to improve on. That answer. That quiet certainty. That refusal to be swept away by something the entire tennis world was treating as a sensation. That was the moment people stopped just watching and started paying genuine attention. Her ranking jumped from 43 to 75 in 7 days. First Filipino player ever inside the WTA top 100. First wildcard in the history of the tour to beat 3 Grand Slam champions at a single event, all in straight sets. Her social media following exploded past 350,000 overnight. Back home in the Philippines, it was not sports coverage anymore, it was national news. And in Zurich and in Mallorca, two phones started ringing. To understand why this investment happened, you need to understand how both of these men think now that their playing careers are finished. Federer has been building since the day he retired. His stake in the running brand, On, bought for around $50 million when almost nobody outside endurance sports had heard of them, is now worth close to half a billion as the company's value has grown past $19 billion. His deal with Uniqlo is worth $300 million. Forbes confirmed in 2025 that his net worth crossed a
Of
billion,
course, the
making him the
atmosphere
first retired athlete outside the
in each
United States
tournament has
to reach
been
that level
amazing, and
through
it's
their
been
sports platform.
a
He did not
different
get there
start
by being
this year
sentimental.
than
He
any
got
other
there
year
by
I've ever had.
identifying genuine stories before the market priced them in. Nadal built something different but ran on the same logic. His academy went from a single campus in Mallorca to locations in Mexico, Greece,
This is the
Kuwait, and Hong
goal
Kong.
to do.
He took a private equity deal on a stake in the academy and cleared 94 million euros in profit. His family holding company grew 44% in a single year. But beyond the
Bolted into the
numbers,
spotlight
Nadal
last
has
month
always spoken
after
about what
making the
outlasts the
semifinals
trophies,
at one of the
the
biggest
character
pro
behind the
tennis.
athlete, the example that remains after the results are forgotten. Alex Eala trained at his academy. He watched her develop from the time she was a teenager. He already knew what she was made of before Miami happened. Miami just confirmed it for the rest
The
of the
sheer
world.
volume of
For
fans
Federer,
flooding the
the
grounds
calculation
is a
was the same
legitimate
one he has made since 2009. Find a story that is completely real,
training
that
session at
connects
practice
across
court
every
6.
cultural background,
Fans were
that has
pressing
a
through
character
fences of
behind it,
adjacent
that money cannot manufacture, and move before everyone else gets there. He did it with a shoe company. He is now doing it with a person. And crucially, this is not a sponsorship deal. There is no logo on her kit, no campaign featuring her face on a billboard. What Federer and Nadal have done is invest directly into Alex Eala as a commercial entity, structured across brand licensing, media rights, content creation, and market expansion into Southeast Asia. The Philippines alone has over 100 billion people. The broader Southeast Asian market that has rallied around her story reaches into the hundreds of millions. That is one of the fastest growing sports consumption audiences anywhere on earth. The months that followed Miami proved that what happened there was not a fluke. Eastbourne in June, a grass court event that was supposed to favor the big servers. She made the final anyway. Then the US Open, her first ever Grand Slam main draw appearance. She faced Clara Tauson in round 1, dropped the first set, went down 5 games to 1 in the third set with the match nearly gone, and then did something that made everyone in the stadium stop breathing normally. She won 6 consecutive games, forced a tiebreak, won it 11 points to 9 after nearly 2 hours and 40 minutes of tennis that the crowd at Flushing Meadows will not forget for a long time. First Grand Slam main draw victory for a Filipino player in the Open era. She ended 2025 ranked 50th in the world after starting it at 43rd, 93 places in one calendar year. Then 2026 continued without slowing down. A fourth round run at Indian Wells. A match against Diana Schneider that had fans sitting in cold California air past midnight, nearly 3 hours of tennis. Right now, March 2026, Alexander Eala is ranked 29th in the world, the highest any Filipino athlete has ever been placed in WTA history. She got there before her 21st birthday. A Sky Sports presenter said something at a tennis event in London recently that stopped the room completely. She said that in terms of the crowds Alex draws, the attention she commands, she might already be the biggest star in women's tennis. Not the biggest emerging star, the biggest star full stop. When Federer heard that from Zurich, he already knew what he was going to do. Nadal had already known for years. She is 21 years old. She has never completed a full season operating at this level with everything aligned behind her. What the tennis world has watched so far is genuinely just the beginning of the story. The same girl who arrived in Mallorca at 12 with 2 rackets and a dream that sounded too big to say out loud still wants exactly the same things. Grand Slams. Number 1 in the world? The people closest to her, the coaches who have watched her since she was a teenager, say what separates her is not just the talent. It is the talent sitting alongside a timeline that has barely started. When the two greatest players in the history of men's tennis point at the same person and commit $50 million to their future, that is not sentiment and it is not marketing. That is two men who spent their entire careers understanding what real champions are made of, recognizing one in front of them. The story of Alexandra Ella is only getting started, and it is going to be worth watching every single step of the way.